What's in a name? Apparently a lot, at least when it comes to health care. Marquette Law School poll director Charles Franklin tried an interesting experiment in the latest poll, which came out last week. The Affordable Care Act is the formal name of President Obama's 2010 health care law, but it's also known, obviously, as ObamaCare. Franklin was interested in seeing whether how you refer to the health care law affects public opinion of it. So he asked 400 voters this question. As you may know, a health reform bill was signed into law in 2010, often called the Affordable Care Act. Given what you know about the health reform law, do you have a generally favorable or generally unfavorable opinion of it? He then asked another 400 voters the exact same question with one key difference. The law was referred to as ObamaCare. Did that make a difference? The results were fascinating. 51% had a favorable view of the Affordable Care Act. 40% had an unfavorable view. But when the wording of the question was changed to ObamaCare, only 40% had a favorable opinion, and unfavorables jumped to 53%.
Labeling it Obamacare gives a partisan cue, and this is a law that's highly partisan. Labeling it the Affordable Care Act is more neutral, and maybe people don't realize quite that they are talking about the same thing.
Gender and education levels also played a role in people's views of the health care law. 52% of people without a college degree view the Affordable Care Act favorably, 36% unfavorably. But when it was called Obamacare, only 36% viewed it favorably. The unfavorables jumped to 56%. Interestingly, people with college degrees actually like the law better when it's called Obamacare. Among those with college degrees, the Affordable Care Act polls at 47% favorable, 49% unfavorable, but call it Obamacare and 50% have a favorable view of it. The unfavorables dropped to 45%. Keep in mind that Obama fared better with college education voters. In the gender breakdown, men react negatively to the law regardless of whether it's called the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. Overall, 59% of men had an unfavorable opinion of the health care law, while 55% of women viewed it favorably. Bound by a promise to the American people, Republicans tried to move quickly to get rid of the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. But that effort ran into trouble when a significant number of Republicans refused to support the bill. From a political perspective, not voting on the American Health Care Act may have been smart politically. Recent polling showed the replacement plan was not popular. And here in Wisconsin, last week's Marquette Law School poll suggested that state voters had low expectations for a replacement plan. Nearly half of those surveyed, 49%, thought a replacement law would decrease the number of people who have health insurance. Only 18% thought a replacement law would increase the number of insured. 25% thought the number of insured would not change. And what about the cost of insurance under a replacement law? 45% thought a health care replacement bill would increase the cost of health insurance, while only 28% thought costs would decrease. 21% thought the costs would not change. The poll also found that a majority of Wisconsin voters wanted to keep the current health law and improve it, not repeal the law. Combine that with signs that the public was already skeptical about a replacement, and Republicans had cause for concern. So in some ways, not taking a vote may not have been the worst thing to happen to Republicans. But for Speaker Ryan, it still had to be bitter medicine, acknowledging publicly that Obamacare would be the law of the land for the foreseeable future.